Oh, I'm on. Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name's Nick Pavlovita, and I am the founder and CEO of this esteemed company called Recyclers Exchange. So, a little bit about the problem that we're trying to solve. About 8 to 13 million metric tons of plastic waste ends up in the oceans each year. 100 million marine animals die each year from plastic waste alone, and plastic waste also ends up in land animals as well, in birds and squirrels. Um, like they'll go and they'll dissect a bird, and its stomach will just be full of plastic. Microplastics have been detected in fruits and vegetables, plastic water bottles, the air, cosmetics, and household dust. And now researchers are finding them in almost every part of the human body, including in breast milk, the placenta, testicles, heart, livers, and kidneys. So plastic waste is it's everywhere. So our solution to this problem is to put a price on plastic waste. Pyrolysis is the heating of organic matter in an evacuated chamber. Plastic waste can be turned into fuel through that process, a process known as pyrolysis. So, by building the infrastructure to turn plastic waste into fuel, our company could open a window to purchase plastic waste. People in general don't throw away things of value. By commodifying plastic waste, we hope to divert waste that would otherwise go into the oceans and accumulate in the environment. So by opening a window to be a purchaser of plastic waste, we're hoping to divert that waste from entering the environment. So my company is trying to raise about $2.5 million, and our two biggest expenses are a pyrolysis plant and land. Um, Everything else is pretty inexpensive, but those would be our two biggest hurdles. Um, and our company is also looking to address this issue in an environmentally friendly way that's also environmentally sustainable. Um, if you can imagine heating an evacuated chamber to 500 degrees Celsius, which is about the melting temperature of plastic, 24 hours a day, requires a lot of energy, and a lot of the energy on the electric grid comes from fossil fuels. So, by solving one problem, we would be creating another problem, which we're all experiencing in global warming. Like things are getting hotter every year. So, our solution to that is heliostats, a sun tracker that points mirrors at an oven. I don't know if many of you are familiar with heliostats, but a heliostat is just a sun tracker. So it tracks where the sun is, and then by tracking where the sun is in the sky, you can point a mirror at a oven and then heat that mirror. So our solution to the carbon footprint from heating a chamber to 500 degrees Celsius 24 hours a day is to use heliostats to make it nearly zero emissions. We would use the energy of the sun to generate heat above 500 degrees Celsius, which is 932 degrees Fahrenheit. And we could also probably later, this isn't my primary concern, but later on we could probably also generate electricity too, so that our company could actually be acting as an offset to carbon emissions, because we would be generating electricity in an environmentally friendly way and also melting plastic at the same time. It's pretty cool if you think about it. Um, so The reason why we're going with heliostats is they require about a quarter of the area compared to conventional photovoltaic. Like when I was initially looking at this problem, I was looking at setting up a photovoltaic uh, what's it called, yard, photovoltaic power plant, pretty much, solar power plant. And I was just like, man, that is a lot of square footage that I'm using. Like, I'm using a lot of space, just generating electricity. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, turning a photon from the sun directly into heat will always be more environmentally or more efficient than turning a photon into electricity and then back into heat. Like that will always, just the way thermodynamics work, that will always be the case. So um, I was looking at this problem, and I was talking to ChatGPT and also through my own research on the subject. And turning a photon from the sun into heat is 80% efficient when it comes to reflecting the light of the sun. A conventional solar photovoltaic, where you're turning a photon into electricity on the consumer market, it averages between 20 and 30% right now. They've gotten it up to 40%, and I think maybe even 50% in a lab somewhere. But it's nothing commercially available, and um, it would just require a ton more space. Um, Turning a photon from the sun into heat is about 4 times as efficient as turning a photon into electricity with consumer grade photovoltaic on the market. Um, I was talking to ChatGPT about it because there's a lot of math here, and I'm not an engineer, unfortunately. And it was like you would probably need about 600 square meters of heliostats to get to 500 degrees C to heat a pyrolysis chamber 24 hours a day. For practicality, we'll probably look at building twice that because I've looked at some concentrated solar power plants in the United States and elsewhere, and they always end up being below what they think they're going to generate. I looked at Crescent Dunes in Nevada, and they got about half of what they were expecting. So, in order to compensate for that, I'm thinking we'll build double what the theoretical uh, Chat GPT number that they came up with. So it'll probably be about 1,200 square meters. That's about the size of 4 tennis courts. Um, so it's not small. It's not big. 2 tennis courts would be pretty small. Like if we just did 600 meters squared, that would be a pretty small area. But in order to attack the problems that occur in the material world, where everything doesn't go according to plan and everything isn't as efficient in the material world as we think it will be, we're going to have 4 tennis courts of heliostats instead of 2. It just seems like a more practical thing to do, just in case there are any errors in the material existence that we are in. To couple that, because we have extra capacity, theoretically, we have more capacity than we should need. And also because we're there's some downtime in feeding the pyrolysis machines when you gotta turn them off to put the plastic waste in them to for each cycle. Um, we're going to couple the heliostats with a thermal sand battery. um, this is like a somewhat of a new thing. A lot of photovoltaic power plants are looking at ways of storing energy when they're over capacity during the day for use at night. And this is something that is currently being worked on, and there are a couple commercial companies that are selling consumer grade products in the thermal sand battery space. We would probably build a custom sand battery with our contractor Chris Foley. We could probably build something rather inexpensively. Um, it would take about 250 cubic meters of space. Um, so that's one tennis court. So it's not too bad. And we, like I said, we would feed it with our extra capacity from the heliostat yard, and we would also feed it from our downtime when the pyrolysis machines aren't running. So we could store energy in the thermal sand battery, and um, and from that energy we could run our plant at night. Or if there's a day where it's overcast, we could pull from the thermal sand battery and use that heat to power our pyrolysis plant. Thermal sand batteries have 94% round trip efficiency. So for every unit of heat that you put into the sand battery, you get 94% out, which is crazy good. Like, I heard that and I was like, really? You put energy into sand and you get 94% out? That's crazy. That's crazy good. Lithium ion is about 90%. So, but that's electrical storage, and electricity is way more useful than heat. But the fact that we have an application where we can use the sand battery and we're not necessarily worried about electricity is just, it's awesome. Like, this is like a perfect practical example of using a thermal sand battery. And sand is like way cheaper than lithium ion per kilowatt hour. So it's an inexpensive way to go. Sand is very environmentally friendly. We're building the plant in Northeast Florida, and Florida, there's sand everywhere, and sand is like super inexpensive. So a 250 cubic meter thermal sand battery um, shouldn't be too expensive. Um, for those in the know, we're going to be using nitrogen as a heat transfer medium. If you can imagine, you're heating something to 500 degrees Celsius, and you got to move that heat. Like, you have to move it somewhere. Like, you have all this heat, and you're just like, over here. um, so, um, typically, what they use is molten salts in concentrated solar plants, Crescent Dunes, and other concentrated solar plants that I've looked at in the United States. They use molten salts, and molten salts are like really good for storing the heat that you have during the day, and then you can still run the plant at night. Um, but molten salts or liquid metal are like really corrosive, and they require specialized equipment, and they're expensive to implement, and they're an environmental hazard, and there's just a lot of issues that go with molten salts and liquid metal. So uh, to be simpler and less expensive, we're going to be using air in the form of nitrogen as a heat transfer medium. Um, it still there's still some safety concerns with nitrogen, but it's cheaper to implement. The equipment for it is standardized, and um, it's all relatively inexpensive compared to molten salts and liquid metal, and it's just less expensive, non-corrosive, environmentally friendly, simpler way to move 600 degree heat around, 600 degrees Celsius heat around. 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, like where we have to move that type of heat. Um, there's safety concerns with pressure because I can't remember what it is, the perfect gas law or something like that. I'm not an engineer, but because the temperatures are so high, the pressure gets high, and that's a safety concern. And safety is always like our prime motive. Like, what are we doing? Well, we should be safe, whatever we are doing. But it sounds like that all of that is manageable and less expensive than taking care of molten salts and liquid metals, which would be a safety nightmare, relatively speaking. So I just want to go over that real quick for those that are wondering. And just like one last thing about our offering. So because we're picking up plastic waste, there's economies of scope where, well, we're picking up that. Well, we can pick up this too. And that's kind of what the rest of the offering is. Like, if you're investing money in our company, I want to make sure that we are doing something, and we're doing something productive, and we're doing something that we can take to market and make money while turning waste into something useful. That's kind of our business model. So, um, some of the things that we can pick up and transform would be things like wood products. We can turn into charcoal or biochar, which can be used to replenish soil, um, and is useful in composting. So we can also pick up mattresses. Like if somebody has a mattress that they want to throw away, I've had this problem so many times, so many times where I'm like, I need to get rid of this mattress. Where do I go? Oh, I have to go to the city dump. What a pain. Well, instead of that, you could just, hello? Yeah, we'll come get it for you. We'll just take it off your hands. We'll take it, and we'll dispose of it for you. We'll either charge a market rate or we'll do it for free. Um, and then we'll turn that material into insulation by shredding it. In case we're having a problem getting to capacity with plastic waste, I want to make sure that we have alternatives. And we can also turn tire waste into fuel, black carbon, or steel. And we can use the same equipment that we're using for the plastic waste to do that. So I want to make sure that our plant, as soon as it's open, we're at capacity and we are making new money. I don't want any lapse in that. And tires, yeah, tire waste is a problem, but it's not my primary focus or primary concern, but it is there. Just in case you're worried that about our plant getting to capacity, we can always go after tires. Box spring houses, So if somebody's throwing away a mattress, they're probably also throwing a box spring away too. And I hope to open up a little workshop where you get what 6 box springs and you tie them all together, and you have a shed. And then with the inexpensive insulation which we made, we throw it in the walls, and you have insulated, cheap alternative form of housing. I'm hoping to work with local governments to allow off-spec housing that we build. Um, but that's down the line, and it would probably initially be some type of storage shed for people to use. And then, yeah, the last thing that is near and dear to my heart, and that I think that we should all um, do collectively as a civilization, is turn food waste into dirt. That's another waste product that we can pick up and we can sell. Like we can pick up the waste over here and then we can sell it over there. And uh, I was talking to a city council member of the city of Gainesville, and I'm hoping to work with local governments to pass ordinances to require restaurants to compost what they make, what they cook, and the food that they throw away. But that takes time. And he was also open to maybe the city or the county leasing us some land for that. Um, my primary focus getting this thing out the door is the plastic waste. All these are kind of like side hustles and things that I would like to pursue, but uh, there's not a lot of money in composting. Not gonna lie, dirt is life. Um, Composting also is good for carbon sequestration. Like if you compost it the right way, it takes carbon out of the air. But it's a pet project of mine. Not gonna lie. Hopefully one day we will get there. So I would like to thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this presentation, and I'll see you next time.